Well, hello, hello. Long time no see. I'm back. I'm back. No, Lost Marauder, this is not going to turn into a 2-hour abortion debate to stream. No, it will not. I will not be talking about abortion in this stream. Unless someone sends me like a really big super chat, and then I might talk about abortion. Well, hi everyone. Welcome to my regular Sunday stream, Effed Up News of the Week. This is a little stream I do every single Sunday. Most Sundays. Most of the time when I'm around, at 5 p.m. Eastern time, in which I talk about news from the week that I might find a little effed up. I talk about some good stuff too. We read some news, we talk about it, we make some fun. Now today, I don't know if some of you heard. I don't know if you heard. I've been dealing with a little drama. I've been dealing with a little canceling. I am being canceled by the right on Twitter. Yes, you heard me correctly. I'm not being canceled by the woke left. I'm being canceled by the woke right. And by the way, in all of 2021, I have not been canceled by the woke left once in 2021. I have been canceled by the woke right 5 or 6 times. So if you are here today looking for answers about why I said the tweets that you didn't want me to say, you're a little late because I did that stream like 2 hours ago. So if you are looking for answers about what I said and why I said it and why no, I am not ever going to bend the knee to your woke mob, you can go and watch this stream that I did 2 hours ago called I've Been Canceled by Woke Conservative Mob Who Can't Handle That I'm Not a Christian. That will provide you with every answer that you need. Every answer under the sun. Because I'm not going to do it again here in this stream. This stream is for effed up news, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So we're not going to talk about this. We're not going to talk about abortion. I will do probably a little after party stream in my locals community in which I'm happy to continue to answer questions about this. If you would like to join my locals, it's kb.locals.com. You can come and watch the exclusive local stream later if you want answers to this. And yeah, we can do it then. But we got lots of stuff to cover here, guys. Well, I would be remiss in saying that if you appreciate the work I do and you are not a woke conservative that's trying to cancel me, one of the ways in which you can support the work I'm doing is by joining my locals as a supporter. Now, I do have a goal. I have an audacious goal of getting 100 new supporters in my locals community by the end of the year. Locals is awesome. You get 2 Zoom calls a week with me and the rest of the locals community and locals. I spend about 6 hours every single week on Zoom with my locals community. You're going to get special exclusive crafting bitches. You're going to get book club. You're going to be able to unlock all the features of locals. And if you join by the end of December, you will be entered into an exclusive raffle to win a hand-knitted, customized garment from me. I never knit for anyone. I don't even knit for my husband. But I will be giving one local supporter the exclusive ability to customize a hand-knit garment that I will knit for you, but you have to get in on that by becoming a local supporter. Again, you go to kb.locals.com. It's $5 a month to become a supporter. You can also do it for $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can also make a one-time gift. All of those things will unlock all of the perks in locals. All right, let's dig into it. Now, I got a bunch of different topics to talk about today. Oh, God. Oh, God. Sorry, the libertarians were tagging me in something. I will answer you guys later. Okay, the libertarians were tagging me in Signal. I've got a bunch of stuff to go through today, but we're going to start with this. Does anyone else find it a little curious? Oh, wait, sorry. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm all over the place today. It's because I already did a stream. Now, normally I don't drink except on Fridays for happy hour. But because I've had a little bit of a day, do you guys mind if I have a beer while we're talking? Do you guys mind? I want to have a beer. And I want to introduce you guys to the most amazing beer that has ever been made. Check this out. Check out this beer that I'm going to drink while we do our stream today. It's called I'm a Mouse, Duh. check out what's in this beer. Imperial Stout with Oreos, pumpkin puree, pumpkin pie spice, caramel, brownie mix, chocolate, and vanilla. I'm going to show you guys what a pour of this beer looks like, and then we're going to do the news. I'm sorry. I know I'm a little all over the place today. It's because I had that other stream. I spent 2 hours on an additional stream. It took up my time to do this. JB, send me an email. I want to know more about what's going on with you and Mikey. All right, check out. Oh, I just poured that beer right on my keyboard. Right on my keyboard. Right on it. Yep. Totally did. Missed the glass completely. Look at this beer, though. Look at this beer. It's beautiful. Hopefully it won't kill my keyboard. Look at this beer. Fucking brownie mix in that beer. It's glorious. It is glorious. You know what's a good thing? A good thing I have a roll of paper towels sitting on my desk from the other day when I did happy hour and the beer exploded all over my desk. Oh my goodness. Hang on. Yeah, keyboard still works. All right. Now look at this beer. You even have to shake it. You have to shake it to get the brownie mix out of the bottom of it. It's glorious. Oh my God. It's so good. All right, everyone. Cheers to all of you. All right, let's get back into it. All right, let's start. Evening Standard. Up to 300,000 people facing heart-related illness due to post-pandemic stress disorder, physicians warn. Now, does anyone find it curious that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we are all of a sudden worried about heart-related issues due to post-pandemic stress disorder? Does anyone find that curious? Of course, I'm not talking about the vaccine. You should, of course, refer to the CDC for all your vaccine-related concerns. The CDC is your God, after all. And, of course, I'm vaccinated, and I think everyone should make their own choice about whether or not to be vaccinated. I did travel. I did. But I do find it a little curious that now they're saying that a whole bunch of people are facing heart-related illness as a result of post-pandemic stress disorder. Let's read and find out what is going on. Up to 300,000 people in the UK are facing heart-related illness due to post-pandemic stress disorder, 2 London physicians have warned. This could result in a 4.5% rise in cardiovascular cases nationally because of the effects of post-pandemic stress disorder, with those aged between 30 and 45 most at risk, they claim. Mark Rayner, a former senior NHS psychological therapist and founder of whatever he founded, said there are as many as 3 million people in Britain already suffering from post-pandemic stress disorder, thanks to stress and anxiety caused by the effects of COVID-19. Why would the pandemic be causing so many people stress that it's causing heart problems in up to 3 million people? I think that is a very good question. He fears this could result in a dramatic rise in physical health issues, such as coronary heart failure, if cases are not detected and treated early. Mr. Rayner says post-pandemic stress disorder is a very real problem on a massive scale, as well as the condition itself with all of its immediate problems. One of the biggest collateral issues is the effect it can have on heart health. What else has an effect on heart health? Certainly not the vaccine. The vaccine is perfect in every way. The vaccine would never harm anyone's heart. Not in any way. And anyone who says it is should really be banned off YouTube permanently. You should check with the CDC for all your vaccine-related questions. It is widely recognized that reducing stress and mental health problems is crucial to the prevention and recovery of cardiovascular events such as heart attack and strokes. We're talking about as many as 300,000 new patients with heart issues. Mr. Rayner warned that without at least doubling the current funding, the NHS would not be able to tackle the trauma time bomb, which could have potentially fatal consequences for those suffering with long-term post-pandemic stress disorder. Meanwhile, Tahar Hassan, a senior vascular surgeon, said he has seen a significant rise in cases where he works. He says, I've seen a big increase in thrombotic related vascular conditions in my practice. Far younger patients are being admitted and requiring surgical and medical intervention as the prior pandemic. I wonder why that you don't say. Far younger patients are being admitted and requiring surgical and medical intervention than prior to the pandemic. You don't say. I'm sure that it is just a result of the increased stress that these young people faced as a result of the pandemic. I'm sure that's what it was. I'm sure. Anne wants you to mount that like button if you believe that young people are facing increased heart conditions because of post-pandemic stress disorder. Or even if you don't believe that it's because of post-pandemic stress disorder, you can still mount that like button. It's okay. It's okay. Everyone can mount the like button. It's an inclusive task. Sharkar says PPSD is fake propaganda. PTSD is what they should be calling it, but it doesn't suit the left's fake analogies. I mean, I'm just reading what the science says. I'm making no judgment. I believe many of these cases are a direct result of the increased stress and anxiety levels caused by the effects of post-pandemic stress disorder. We also have evidence that some patients have died at home from conditions such as pulmonary embolism, myocardial infarction. You don't say. I believe that this is related to many people self-isolating at home with no contact with the outside world and dying without getting the help they need. PPSD is a mental health condition induced by the pandemic. While it is not yet officially recognized, many experts believe it should be. Mr. Rayner added, everyone has heard of PTSD, but we really urgently need to get our heads around post-pandemic stress disorder. The pandemic and the resulting lockdowns it's brought have had a massive effect on the mental health of the nation as a whole. Who could have predicted that? Certainly not people who have gotten a false strike on YouTube for reading a psychological peer-reviewed article about the psychological impacts of mask wearing. Certainly not those people could have predicted that. Research suggests that patients with symptoms of depression are at a 64% greater risk of developing coronary heart artery disease and 59% more likely to have a future adverse cardiovascular event, such as heart attack or cardiac death. So, I wonder when this is going to make its way over to the States. This is obviously in the Standard. This is in the UK. I wouldn't be surprised if it made it to the States. Post-pandemic stress disorder causing massive heart problems. You know what else I've heard is causing heart problems? The new variant. I'm sure it's all just a coincidence. I'm sure it is. But let's move on. Let's move on because Ibram Candy has done something stupid. Ibram Candy has done something stupid on several levels. Like me saying Ibram Candy has done something stupid is like, you know, it must be a day that ends in Y, right? It must be a day that ends in Y that Ibram Candy would do something stupid. But this is like double stupid. This is like I am so pissed about this. Ibram Candy is a useful idiot for white identitarians. Actual white identitarians. You guys know which ones I'm talking about. Now, if you don't know which ones I'm talking about, what I want you to do is I want you to go over to my Substack, which is carlin.substack.com, KARLYN.substack.com. I want you to read this article pinned to the very top called The Backlash to Critical Race Theory is Here, and they're trying to co-opt the anti-CRT movement. Now, I have covered this article already on this channel multiple times. I'm not going to cover it again today. But what you need to know is that I have proven emphatically, without a shadow of a doubt, that actual white identitarians not fake ones, real bad people connected to neo-Nazis, connected to very bad people, are using the term anti-white, that specific term, anti-white, and doing their very best to push it into the cultural zeitgeist. They are completely organized. They have whole teams of people working around this in order to help recruit people to their cause. Everything you need to see is laid out in this article, carlin.substack.com. It's right at the top. We're not going to go over it. What you need to know is that the term anti-white is an actual dog whistle for these people, not a fake media dog whistle, actual, real. These things really exist, guys. It is real. And so anytime you see someone using the term anti-white, they are probably being influenced by this movement and are a useful idiot for them. I mean, it's ridiculous. I've spent a lot of time looking into this. Like 80% of the people I see using the term anti-white are these people. They're the bad people. Okay? Sometimes they're just useful idiots and they don't understand. Ibram Candy is being a useful idiot. He writes this piece in The Atlantic, The Mantra of White Supremacy. The idea that anti-racist is a code word for anti-white is a claim of avowed extremists. While he is, ironically, this is one of those cases in which Ibram X. Kendi and I actually do agree. Anyone using the code anti-white is a useful idiot for very, 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 very bad people. Ibram X. Kendi probably doesn't know this because he would never read something I wrote. He blocked me on Twitter a long time ago. Let's read what Ibram X. Kendi has to say in this stupid article in The Atlantic. Below, a Democratic donkey, the Fox News graphic read, anti-white mania. Yeah, and I want to say this. Tucker Carlson is, listen, he's at the top of this article. Tucker Carlson is one of the people that fell for this. Tucker Carlson fell for this. Okay? This guy right here, actual white identitarian. He is. The neo-Nazis in New Hampshire, the legitimate ones, love him. Love him. So Tucker Carlson fell for this. I don't believe Tucker Carlson knew what he was doing, but I do believe he fell for this. Yes, absolutely. It flanked Tucker Carlson's face and overtook it in size. It was unmistakable, which was the point. The segment nailed on June 25th. The height of the manic attack and redefinition of critical race theory, which Carlson has repeatedly cast as anti-white. It is one of the most incendiary segments of the year. The question is, and this is the question we should be meditating on day in and day out, is how do we get out of this vortex, this cycle, before it's too late, Carlson asks. How do we save this country before it becomes Rwanda? Some white Americans have been led to fear that they could be massacred like the Tutsis of Rwanda. That's true. That is 100% true. Ibram X. Kendi is correct. There is a large group. When I say large, I mean, I think that the group that I wrote about in this article is probably about 30,000, which isn't ginormous. It's not, but it's a lot of people, man. It's a lot of people. It's a lot more people than people think. And they really do believe. They, honest to God, do believe that there will be a white genocide. They really, really do. They call it white erasure. CRT equals Marxism. Marxism equals genocide every time. Read a sign at a June 23rd Proud Boy demonstration in Miami. Other white Americans have been led to fear that America's teachers, 79% of whom are white, instructing kids to identify in racial terms. As Blake Masters, a Republican candidate for the U.S. Senate, said in May, "You are good or bad depending on what you look like. At this point, it is straight up anti-white racism." I don't think we're allowed to say that, but let's call it what it is. Blake Masters. And listen, guys, I don't like Ibram Candy, and I'm going to talk about the reasons I don't like Ibram Candy as we continue in this article. But what I will tell you is that Blake Masters is one of the people that this group has specifically targeted. They talk about him in their videos. They talk about celebrating that they got him to use the term anti-white. That's real. They celebrate when Tucker Carlson uses it. They celebrate when the New York Post uses it. They celebrate when Blake Masters uses it. They celebrate anytime someone uses this term because they actively want the conservative media to use it, because when the conservative media uses it, it helps them to recruit. Just the way it is. So Ibram Candy is actually right in what he said at the beginning, but, and this is why. This is why I always thought it was dangerous to play with these people in the first place. Because what Ibram Candy is doing is precisely what I told you guys the left would do, which is they're going to identify the most extreme possible people on the right and say the entire right thinks like this. The entire anti-CRT movement thinks like this. The entire unwoke movement thinks like this. Of course we don't think like that. Of course, I would bet that absolutely no one watching right now believes that there is an anti-white genocide about to take place. I would bet no one believes that because it is not true. It is not true in any way. But what these people do, and this is why I warned the right not to cozy up to people like this. What these people do is the left is going to take the most extreme possible example they can find and say, this is who represents the anti-CRT movement. This is who represents the anti-woke movement. Ibram X. Kendi's right. These people do exist. But what he will not acknowledge and what he will never acknowledge is that the vast majority of people who are opposed to what he's doing are not these people. We are not these people. I hope that no one here are these people. Let's continue. Even when GOP politicians and operatives don't openly call it what it is, they're still echoing Masters nonetheless, using without saying that critical race theory is explicitly anti-white, to use the words of Chris Rufo. I have begged Chris Rufo not to use this language. And he understands. He understands. Chris Rufo actually does understand this. He really does. A travel documentary filmmaker turned leading critic of CRT. Chris Rufo's a little bit more than a travel documentary filmmaker. At his final campaign rally in Loudoun County, Virginia, Governor-elect Glenn Youngkin said, "What we won't do is teach our children to view everything through the lens of race, where we divide them into buckets and one group is an oppressor and the other is a victim, and we pit them against each other and we steal their dreams." Now, look at what they just did. Look at what Ibram Candy just did. Glenn Youngkin didn't say anything wrong. He didn't say anything wrong. But Ibram Candy has positioned him next to people who are positioning themselves next to really bad effing people. This is what they do. We need to look at this stuff to understand that this is what they do. They will always do this. And that's why we have to explicitly make sure we are separating ourselves from really bad people. I know that it feels like you're handing a win to the left and to the woke when you say these people exist. But if you don't, they will label every single one of us as being these people. I'm not those people. I don't think you are either. Republicans provoked a backlash against CRT, which they also call anti-racism or wokeism. True. That backlash won the 2021 elections. True. But it wasn't a backlash of parents, William Selaton found in his close study of polling data. It was a backlash of white people. How many Americans know that the claim that anti-racism is harmful to white people is one of the basic mantras of white supremacist ideology? That's true. That's true. But what Ibram Candy is not telling you is that they do not give two flying Fs about critical race theory or anti-racism. They use it to help them recruit. That's what Ibram X. Kendy's not going to tell you. They don't care about any of this stuff. The legitimate white identitarians think this is great. It's helping them to recruit. Americans are familiar with white supremacist movements like the Klan, skinhead, neo-Nazis, and the Proud Boys. Proud Boys are not a white supremacist movement. But they don't seem to recognize the white supremacist ideology. The most venomous form of racist ideology. Ibram X. Candy doesn't know what he's talking about. I suspect that many Americans don't know how much white supremacist ideology shapes their political thought and political discourse and allows juries to exonerate racism and convict anti-racism. Here's the thing. Here is why you should never, ever, ever take people like Ibram Candy seriously. I spent about 3 weeks, 8 to 10 hours a day, researching this article, watching hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of actual white identitarian content. Actual white identity. Look at all this. I got clips in there for you. I've got receipts. I've got everything. I spent 3 weeks full time researching actual white identitarians. They really do exist. People like Ibram X. Kendi and the woke left do not care about those people. They do not care. They do not care that that stuff exists. If I put this right in front of them and said, "Hey, can we all just denounce these people?" They wouldn't give two flips. Don't care. And I'll tell you what, once you get engrossed in this stuff, anything that Ibram Kendi tells you is racism looks stupid. This is actual racism. What I wrote about in this article is actual racism. These people don't give a flying fuck about actual racism. With his anti-white mania graphic, Tucker Carlson yet again presented the most dangerous mantra in American politics. Attacks on racism are really attacks on white Americans that led to white people being harmed. Anti-racism is anti-white is the old expletive mantra of an avowed white supremacist. It has been their organizing vehicle, fueling their rage, fueling their backlash, fueling their delusions. This is precisely what I was warning the conservative right would happen. And they didn't listen. And it did. It's like I'm right listen, I know that I started out in this by being a Democrat for 20 years and then waking up to the fact that I was wrong about a whole lot of stuff. I understand that. But I wasn't wrong because I was paying attention and not seeing it. I was wrong because I wasn't paying attention. Once I start paying attention to something, I am very rarely wrong. I just keep getting vindicated again and again and again with everything that I said would happen. This, by the way, is another way I got canceled by the right when I started talking about this. They canceled me bad for talking about this. But I was right with every single thing that I said. Single thing has borne out that I was right. I hate to pat myself on the back this much, but I took a metric F ton of grief for this. I took so much heat for this. And I was right with every single thing that I said. All year long, this white supremacist mantra has been fueling what Martin Luther King Jr. once called the white backlash against last year's racial reckoning. Yes, it is. That's true. It is inciting voter suppression policies and insurrections to protect white political supremacy. It is inciting swarms of lies, insults, threats, and simulated killings of anti-racist Americans who are branded as anti-white. It is inciting the false claims that anti-racist books and education are harmful to white children. It is inciting bans of those books and lessons. It is inciting the second assassination of King to justify those bans. Some Democrats have particularly made it a bipartisan affair, like Nicole Hannah-Jones, the creator of the 1619 Project, recently told the Los Angeles Times. The idea that racial reckoning has gone too far, and now white people are the ones suffering is the most predictable thing in the world if you understand American history. Yeah, see, here's the thing. The world is about balance. Everything in the world balances each other out. If you have a group of people who are screaming racism, 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 racism for everyone who disagrees with them for years, there's going to be a backlash to that. The more you scream about racism every single time it's convenient to do so, you will create actual racists. You'll create actual racists. Centrists told abolitionists they'd gone too far and provoked the backlash, causing Southern secession. Centrists told King and other civil rights activists they'd gone too far and provoked the backlash, causing Democrats to lose elections in 66 and 68. Some centrist Democrats today say woke politics have gone too far and provoked the woke lash, causing Democrats to lose the election in 2021. Some of these people need to go to a woke detox center or something, the political Democratic strategist James Carville said after the 2021 elections. James Carville was right. James Carville was right. They're expressing a language that people don't use and there's backlash and a frustration at that. Actually, GOP operatives are expressing or whistling an anti-white language that the anti-racists don't use, and there's a backlash and frustration at that. Ibram Candy is so self-righteous. Anti-racism is anti-white is the mantra dividing the Democratic Party, especially since the 2021 elections. It is the mantra unifying the Republican Party, especially since the 2020 election. There are numerous variations on this mantra: wokeism or anti-racism or critical race theory. Oh, look! Oh, isn't this nice? Isn't this nice that Ibram Candy is telling us that all of these things mean the same thing? Check this out. This is like a bright shining point in this article. Wokeism or anti-racism or critical race theory or the 1619 Project or cancel culture or Black Lives Matter or challenging racial inequity is said to be anti-white or an anti-white racist. Now, again, I'm not going to use the term anti-white ever, except when I have to when explaining stuff like this. But up until that point, this sentence is actually amazing because Ibram Candy is literally telling us that all of these things are the same. They're all the same. And variations on this mantra have become so ubiquitous in the American political discourse that people can easily dismiss or deny its origin in white supremacist thought. This is a long article. I'm not going to read all of it. Basically, I wanted to point out that Ibram X. Kendi is making himself a useful idiot for white identitarians. And if you have questions about that, again, I know that this comes out of left field for a lot of people, but I've covered it extensively on my channel. Please read the article I have pinned to the top of my Substack. It's carlin.substack.com. The backlash to critical race theory is here, and they're trying to co-opt the anti-CRT movement. This article is probably one of the most important things that I've ever worked on because they are explicitly, very bad people are explicitly using what's going on in the world to recruit to their very bad and misguided cause. I have laid everything out for you guys in explicit detail, as much detail as I could without it being overwhelming. But this is one of the most important things I've worked on since I became public with this stuff. I really need people to read this. I really need people to understand it and ignore anyone, especially Ibram X. Kendi, who is using the term anti-white because it doesn't mean what you think it does. All right, moving on. Now, there was a moment of clarity today. So Twitter implemented this new policy earlier this week. We didn't really talk about this on the channel, but Twitter implemented this new policy. Beginning today, we will not allow the sharing of private media, such as images or videos of private individuals, without their consent. Publishing people's private info is also prohibited under this policy as is threatening or incentivizing others to do so. Now, I don't like this new Twitter policy. I will admit that I actually have weaponized it already against my enemies on Twitter, especially the people stalking me. And I'm really enjoying that. But overall, I don't think this is a good policy. I think it inhibits journalism. We're going to call this the Project Veritas policy because it's explicitly about Project Veritas. But I love that Marianne Williamson had like a moment of clarity about this. Marianne Williamson is smarter than a lot of people give her credit for. She really is. Now, she's a progressive. She's not red-pilled. She's choking down that blue pill, kicking and screaming. She does not want a red pill. She's gotten close a couple times. She's had moments where it was like, okay, Marianne, just go that extra step. You're almost there. You're almost there. And then she's like, no, I will go back to being a progressive. But there's moments like this where she's like, if this policy had been in place, George Floyd's murderer would be free today. Yes, Marianne. That is explicitly correct, Marianne. That is explicitly correct. And one of the things I found funny this week is that the Washington Post is complaining about how far-right extremists are using this new Twitter rule against their enemies. It's as though we can't see through to the consequences, the logical end result. Let's read this article from the Washington Post. Researchers fear the new ban on posts sharing people's private information would be emboldening to the fascists, eager to keep their identities concealed. Things now unexpectedly work more in our favor, one Nazi sympathizer wrote. Let's see if these are actual Nazis or if they're just plain Nazis. Oh, that's real Nazi. Oh, yeah, that's real. That is right there. Yes, that is. That is. They actually are. But that's from the Unite the Right rally. That's old. Okay. Neo-Nazis and far-right activists are coaching followers on how to use a new Twitter rule to persuade the social media platform to remove photos of them posted by anti-extremism researchers and journalists who specialize in identifying episodes of real-world hate. Advocates say they worry the new policy will suppress efforts to document the activities of the far right and will prove to be a gift to members of hateful movements eager to keep their identities concealed. It's going to be emboldening to the fascists, says Gwen, an anti fascist researcher and organizer in Philadelphia. Snyder's Twitter account was suspended. Oh, Gwen's Twitter account was suspended early Thursday after someone reported a 2019 tweet of hers showing photos of a local mayoral candidate attending a public rally alongside the extremist group, the Proud Boys. After the Washington Post asked about the suspension, Twitter spokesperson Trenton Kennedy said the tweet was not in violation and that our team took action in error. On Tuesday, Twitter announced its new private information policy would allow for someone whose photo or video was tweeted without their consent to request the company take it down. Twitter said the rule would help curb the misuse of media to harass, intimidate, and reveal identities of private individuals, whose disproportionately impacts women, activists, dissidents, and members of minority communities. I thought this as soon as Twitter announced this policy. I was like, this is going to be used against the left. This policy is going to change. This policy is absolutely going to change and is absolutely going to get revoked because it's going to be used against the left. The rule, company officials said Tuesday, would not apply to photos that added value to public discourse or were of people involved in large-scale protest, crisis situations, or other newsworthy event due to public interest value. Now, who do you think is going to be the judge of what photos are adding value to public discourse? Report that shit, JB. Report it. Report it. Report it. Report it. Send me an email about what he's doing. I'm really actually curious about what your beef is with him. I know what my beef is with him. I'm curious about yours. He seems to already think we're talking, so we might as well be talking. In the days since, however, white supremacists on channels such as the encrypted chat service Telegram have urged supporters to use the new policy against activists and journalists who have shared their information or identified them in photos or hate rallies or public events. I love this beer. It's so good. Due to the new privacy policy at Twitter, things now unexpectedly work more in our favor as we can take down Antifa doxing pages more easily. A white nationalist and Nazi sympathizer wrote to followers on Telegram on Wednesday night, referring to the anti-fascist political movement whose members often clash with far-right protesters to the practice of publishing people's personal information online. He included a list of nearly 50 Twitter accounts and urged people to report them for suspension under the new rule. It's like when you try to go after your enemies using nefarious means like instituting a policy on Twitter, your enemies can then turn it around to use it against you. Did you two hook up or something? Is that what happened? Jeez, I'm curious about, I'm sorry, I know this is like a personal thing in the middle of a show, but I'm really curious about what happened. The Telegram post has been viewed more than 10,000 times. Oh, I thought there were only a couple thousand neo-Nazis in the US. It's been viewed more than 10,000 times? Really? After it was shared on Twitter by anti-extremism researcher Christopher Goldsmith, the Telegram user wrote, "Yeah, and we'll do it again." How Twitter will enforce the new policy remains contentious. A Twitter spokesperson told the Post this week that the policy would help prevent the unauthorized sharing of photos of victims and women in authoritarian countries who could face real-world punishment for going outside without a burqa. The company said that each report will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, and flagged accounts can file an appeal or delete the offending post to resolve suspensions. Or suspensions. Snyder, the Philadelphia anti-fascist researcher, says she believed her reported tweet did not break the rules but deleted it anyway, worried that any appeal she filed would take too long or ultimately fail. Well, I will say this, Jeremy Kaufman from the LPNH, he also owns Library and Odyssey. Jeremy Kaufman actually appealed. He got suspended for tweeting Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong. Like, I never got suspended for tweeting that, but he did. And they wanted him to delete the tweet in order to get his account back. He appealed it. They never reviewed the appeal. He waited 30 days for them to review the appeal. They never reviewed it. Finally, he just deleted it. So I don't think that Twitter actually reviews appeals. Since the violent white nationalist rally in Charlottesville, anti-extremism activists have used Twitter to identify previously anonymous members of right-wing militias and neo-Nazis and other hate groups. Okay, let's be clear. Let's be clear, because again, I spent about 3 weeks researching this crap. Real neo-Nazis and real far-right militias are not on Twitter. They're not on Twitter. They're on Telegram. That's where they're organizing. It is on Telegram. It is not on Twitter. It is on Telegram. In some cases, they expose people have lost jobs, been reported to law enforcement, or face consequences with coworkers, family, or friends. Activists and researchers who have shared their information have also faced death threats and online attacks. Goldsmith, a researcher. Anyway, I'm not going to read this whole thing. It keeps going a little bit. I just wanted to point out that I thought it was funny that Twitter immediately instituted this new stupid policy as soon as this guy became CEO. And it was immediately identified by people like Marianne Williamson saying, this could be used against us. And now it is being used against you because you screwed around. By the way, I do not believe that this new Twitter CEO is going to make it that long. Apparently, he announced this massive reorg. I don't think he's going to make it that long. Any CEO that comes in and does these big policy maneuvers in their first week and then reorganizes immediately, they tend not to last that long. He's like an intermediary. He's like a stopgap. He's not going to be CEO for long. I would bet he's not going to make it a year. I would be surprised if he made it 6 months, if I'm honest. But I don't think he's going to make it a year. By the end of 2022, this new Twitter CEO will be out. I guarantee it. Cheers to that. All right, guys. If you're enjoying the show so far, please make sure you mount that like button. Please make sure you join my locals. We got some school stuff to talk about. Check this out. Boston Charter School Dean sends email that only white students have to read so they can hold themselves accountable for being white. Now, I understand why some people think that critical race theory is just against white people because of stuff like this. When you see stuff like this in the news, it makes it seem like critical race theory is only against white people. Let me just remind you at this point that critical race theory is racist against everyone. It's just racist in different ways. Critical race theory says that black people can't work hard. They can't show up on time. They can't go to the DMV and get a driver's license. That's all incredibly racist. Critical race theory teaches young black children that they can only succeed in the world with the help of white people. That's racist. But stuff like this is actually legitimately racist against white people. Let's read and see what happens. This is Garrett Schwab, the Dean of Students at Boston Collegiate Charter School in Dorchester. As you know, if you read Turtle Boy, charter schools are even worse than public schools when it comes to indoctrinating children. No, that's not true. That's not true. This is commentary that I don't like. Anyway, let's just go down and read this email. Hi, students. If you are a white identifying student at school, read on. If you identify as a student of color, please feel free to ignore this email. Given recent events, I thought it would be important time for us to sit in a space and talk about what it means to be a white person at BCCS. Especially given the current climate and national climate, I feel that it is important for us to identify ways in which we can more effectively hold ourselves accountable. Support and understand the experiences that many students and staff of color are facing at our school. To do this, I will be holding a space for community conversation and reflection tomorrow at 3 p.m. Please let me know if you have any questions. What do the white kids who didn't post threats on Snapchat have to hold themselves accountable for? Oh, right, nothing. That is just more school segregation. Blah, 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 blah. After that, he sent a follow up email to faculty apologizing for not going far enough. Just as a reminder, I will use the term anti white when I'm talking about the news. If you use this term in the comments on my channel, I will block you. Because as I have stated very clearly, most of the people who use this term are very bad people. I don't want them on my channel. And so if you choose to use language that is aligns you with very bad people, then you're giving me no choice. I don't know who you are. You don't use your real name. You don't use your real photo. I can only assume that you are a very bad person if you're using very bad person language. So that's your one warning. Don't do it again. So this is his follow-up email. To faculty apologizing for not going far enough with his segregationist policies. Hi, everyone. I've had some direct responses to my last email with concerns that this is the initial response to recent events. In full transparency, as an individual staff person, I was thinking about my own identity and how others who share my identity as a white person might want to process the impact on this community and serve in support. It is by no means the only thing that the school or the team is doing to respond to this incident. Apparently, someone posted something on Snapchat they didn't like. Because of the seriousness of this incident, I'm going to let's go back. I thought this was just commentary, but let's actually read what happened. Earlier in the weeks, a freshman at Boston Collegiate Charter School posted a meme on Snapchat about shooting black people and was rightfully suspended for doing so. Okay. A kid said something stupid and got suspended for it. That's what we're talking about. And I don't condone violence in any way, just so we're clear. As much as people think I'm glorifying violence by expressing a spiritual view about the Holocaust, I don't condone violence in any way. Because of the seriousness of this incident, it is going to take more than 24 hours to come up with a comprehensive plan for how to address what happened. I apologize for moving too fast in wanting to create a space for collective accountability for this without shared solidified plans for the school as a whole. Additional spaces and opportunities for discussion are being planned, and those plans will be shared as they are finalized. We value the student voice and impact. So if you have any ideas, please email me. So essentially, a kid did something stupid, and now a school is instituting all sorts of policies. Also, oh, we're going to go back to this, are we? No, I do not allow for you to use language that is the same language as very bad people. So now you're going to get a timeout, and you're going to get a timeout. You guys don't want to follow the rules. Get the fuck off my channel. It's not hard. Not hard. Not hard. But this is an interesting little one. Speaking of schools. Speaking of dumpster fires in my chat going on right now. This is an interesting one. Stop the masturbation club in Nashua Schools. This is in my home state of New Hampshire. Guys, we can keep going on and on about the anti-white terminology in the chat. I used it in a news story. I explained to you explicitly how it identifies you as very bad people. If you want to be contrarian, I will block you. God, I've had to block like 3 people in the chat in the last 5 minutes. Just for being contrarian. Anyway, this appeared in the Granite Grok, which is a little subversive website in New Hampshire. Stop the Masturbation Club in the Nashua Schools by Anne Marie Banfield with a photo of a dumpster fire. which I greatly, greatly appreciated. I have no problem calling out teachers who think they can use the classroom to push their political narrative or do not have the skill set to educate children. But I also know the vast majority of teachers do not fall into that category. Anne Marie and I disagree on that regard, but okay. That's why my articles rarely focus on teachers as the problem in public education. They are normally forced to implement the failed fads and curriculum in their classrooms and do the best they can. Anne Marie and I also disagree on that. If you watch Nashua School Board meeting and listen to the public comment, you are going to hear some serious problems the teachers are facing in the classroom. I'm not surprised by what they are reporting because administrators are assisting in the self-destruction of public schools and teachers are caught in the middle. Listen, teachers are caught in a reality of their own making. The problem that we are going to read about in this article is a direct result of the reality that has been cultivated by teachers in the public schools. This is their fucking fault. I'm sorry. This is their fault. Their fault. Not sorry. There are so many issues facing teachers today, but if you listen to this teacher at 28 minutes and 40 seconds, we're not going to listen to it. She is pleading for someone to help her. She reports, 2 students started the masturbation club with a flyer that included the teacher as the advisor. The flyer included the teacher's name and email address. The flyer was then posted in numerous boys' bathrooms. The teacher was then notified by a colleague that some of their students had received Snapchats of the flyer. After being horrified by this discovery, the teacher had to go into her class, where she had to endure continued harassment. Why isn't she stopping the students from harassing her? She is the teacher. This is the environment that you cultivate when you literally tell teachers that they are not allowed to tell students they are wrong. The students make animal and bodily noises while she writes on the board. Students have told her to F off when told to put their cell phone on her desk after they were using it in her class. Then she was called crazy and stupid for taking the phone. When she was out, the sub who replaced her sent a note of her deepest sympathies for what she realized this teacher had to endure each day. The teacher tried to use the emotional, check this out. This is like the best part. Check this out. The teacher tried to use the emotional techniques she learned in workshops. The teacher tried to use social emotional learning with the students and it just didn't work. She notes that teachers have been asked to take a pay cut. If you listen to the speaker before this teacher, 26 minutes, you will hear him say something very important. He mentions how hard it is to suspend students now. One parent commented to me recently, the only thing kids are getting suspended for is when they don't wear masks. No wonder they have lost respect and authority for the rules. Whose fault is that? Whose fault is it that the only thing that you can suspend students for is for not wearing a mask? Who made that decision? The teacher who was humiliated by this prank begins her comments. I suggest listening to them. The employers are giving you some good insight, blah, blah, blah. So, how did this happen? Let me give you a big hint. Multi-tiered systems of support. Have you heard of it? I didn't think so. Multi-tiered systems of support is in all of the schools across the country because money flowed into the state from the feds and then into the schools to set up the behavior support system. It's more of a mental health system carried out by school officials that are not educated or trained in the field of mental health. What could go wrong? Mental health, multi-tiered support systems and social emotional learning apply to all children, not just the children who actually need mental health support. And just so you know, teachers are not educated or qualified to deal with mental health issues. You guys know how I've been warning you about social emotional learning? This is what we're seeing. This is the logical end result of forcing teachers to become therapists when those teachers don't have a license to practice therapy. That's what social emotional learning is. It's teachers practicing psychology without a license. This is what happens when you practice psychology without a license. You F everyone up. And they're like, but we just don't know what we did was wrong. We just don't know what to do. If you listen to the comments, the teachers were forced to sit through 6 hours of SEL training. 6 hours, and now they are your mental health assessors and providers. Is this a joke? Yes. And the joke is on your child. These teachers are valued and respected by me, but they are not mental health professionals. I don't value or respect the teachers. But that's just me. They have no business being put in this position, but everyone wants public schools to fix the mental health problems of students. They are supposed to educate. Good luck with that. So, what do kids do who want to cause trouble like this? Answer: they cause trouble. Why not? They have a mental health condition if they get caught. Listen to the public comments. You will see it's tougher for kids to get suspended. Of course it is. Education reformers have determined that these kids have mental health issues now. What she's saying is that the schools are not suspending kids when they're doing crap like this because the kids go in and they say, I have mental health problems. I can't help it. Do you want to put a teacher in charge of your child's cancer after 6 hours of professional development training on childhood cancer? Do you see the absurdity? It's a really good line, Anne-Marie. So what happens when students exhibit bad behaviors because they want to cause trouble? They still need consequences for their behavior. Multi-tier support services offers them wraparound services, so they are seeing a lack of consequence for this type of behavior. Teachers will collect data on these kids. They will be forced to show growth. They will get no real support from administrators who go along with this nonsense. If a child has trauma, depression, anxiety, or any other serious mental health challenges, teachers cannot assess or treat that. Stop acting like they have this expertise. You are fooling yourself, and no vendor will fix the problem either. Anne-Marie is making some great points in this article. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of this. And to be quite frank, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I believe that we should be permanently defunding the public schools. And so anything that can help facilitate the destruction of the public schools, I'm going to go in as A-okay. But I just thought you'd all like to know about the masturbation club in Nashua, New Hampshire high schools. Live free or die. Well, I promised I wasn't going to talk about abortion in this stream, and I am committed to that. I will not talk about abortion in this stream. But I do want to talk about this stupid essay. Listen. They're now trying to convince people that adoption is bad. Just because I'm pro-choice doesn't mean I think adoption is bad. The New York Times is trying to convince people that adoption is more traumatic than being aborted. Now, to be fair, I don't think you have any consciousness if you're aborted, so I'm not actually really worried about that. But I do not believe that adoption is traumatic when kids are being adopted into good families. Let's read. I was adopted. I know the trauma it caused, and who, of course, do they have front and center? Amy Coney Barrett, who has committed the crime of adopting Black children. On Wednesday, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments from state attorneys seeking to uphold Mississippi's 15-week abortion ban. Justice Amy Coney Barrett kept getting at one question: why was abortion necessary when women who do not want to be mothers could simply give their babies up for adoption? Well, my answer to that would be not everyone wants to carry a child for 9 months, especially if those children were not a result of a choice that that woman made. That aside, As an adoptee myself, I was floored by Justice Barrett's assumption that adoption is an accessible and desirable alternative for women who find themselves unexpectedly pregnant. She may not realize it, but what she is suggesting is that women don't need access to abortion because they can simply go do a thing that is infinitely more difficult, expensive, dangerous, and potentially traumatic than terminating a pregnancy during its early stages. I agree with that. I agree. As an adopted mother myself, or herself, Justice Barrett should have had some inkling of the complexities of adoption and the toll it can inflict on children as well as birth mothers. Here's where the article starts to go off the rails for me. But she speaks as if adoption is some kind of idyllic fairy tale. My own adoption actually was what many would consider idyllic. I was raised by two adoptive parents, Alice and Terry, from the time I was an infant and grew into a home where I knew every day I was loved. A few years ago, I found my biological mother, Maria, and three siblings I didn't know I had during via a DNA test and Facebook. Listen, man, if you grew up in a house where you knew you were loved, you're already ahead of most of us. Sorry. The first time I spoke to Maria on the phone, she lives in Alabama, not too far away from my parents, and I live in Brooklyn. She apologized repeatedly for giving me up and told me she loved me and that I would always be family. You are blood, she would say. I later told her and continue to tell her every time she brings it up that the apology is unnecessary. I had a wonderful childhood, and I believe she made the right decision, but she remains heartbroken about the years we missed together. Both Maria and my mom, Alice, oppose abortion on religious grounds. My mom is white and Southern Baptist. Maria is Hispanic and Pentecostal. Both like to point me to justify their beliefs, saying that had Maria gotten an abortion, I would not exist. It's a familiar argument. The anti abortion movement likes to invoke Nobel Prize winners who may never have materialized or potential adoptees who might have cured cancer if they hadn't been aborted at 8 weeks. I frankly think that's a stupid argument for people to take, to be really blunt. I'm no Nobel Prize winner, but I still resent being used. See, and this is where oh man, I effing hate when I end up agreeing with leftist articles. I don't think she wanted to be aborted, but I think she's saying she doesn't like being used as a political football. And I hate that. I agree. I agree. I agree. I believe that abortion is a form of healthcare and that every woman should have access to it if she needs it. But perhaps more than that, I resent this suggestion by people like Justice Barrett that adoption is a simple solution. And I resent it on behalf of Maria, who found the choice she made traumatizing and still feels pain 44 years later. Even when an adoption works out well, as it did in my case, it's still fraught. Listen, man, I don't like the I'm glad we're reading this because I do believe that people need to see how the left is going to manipulate this situation. I do not believe adoption is a bad thing. I don't. However, there is a there is absolutely an argument to make that it is not a perfect solution. I mean, no solution's a perfect solution, but she's making an argument that like, listen, man, just because it may have been better than the alternative for me, that doesn't mean that it was perfect and idyllic. When I echo Maria in saying that she gave me up, the language always rankles adoptive parents because it introduces an unpleasant complexity, implying that my birth mother was not completely happy with her choice, or worse, that it made her miserable. But that is sometimes the case, even when adoption is the best option for all involved. Adoption is not always an unallied good. It is a complicated choice in a situation that has no right or wrong answer. I agree with that. Listen, she's not saying she would prefer to be aborted. She's saying even when adoption is the best option for all involved, it's not perfect. If the court overturns Roe v. Wade, many women will be forced to give birth to children they do not want or do not feel that they could afford. While pregnant, they will undergo bonding with a child that happens by biological design as an embryo develops into a living, breathing, conscious human, and then that child will be taken away. The right likes to suggest that abortion is a traumatic experience for women. a last resort, a painful memory. But adoption is often just actually, I'm going to be honest, the right doesn't really care about the trauma caused to women. They don't. They only care about the babies, the babies, 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 baby, baby. That's all they care about. It's the kid. But adoption is often just as traumatic as the right thinks abortion is, if not more so, as a woman has to relinquish a lump of cells, but not just a lump of cells, but a fully formed baby she has lived with for 9 months. I don't think that's wrong. As a mother myself to an adorable 6-year-old self-proclaimed Fortnite expert, and as is often the case, I did not know I was pregnant with him until the usual symptoms appeared a few weeks into the pregnancy. As anyone who has just dated a human will tell you, there is a vast difference between the 4th week of pregnancy and the 40th. By the 40th, you're familiar with your baby's regular rhythms of kicking and moving. When I awoke, my son would wake up shortly after. I'd feel him turning and stretching, and less pleasantly, jamming his precious little foot into what felt like my cervix. This is one of the paradoxes of pregnancy. Something alien is usurping your body and zapping you of nutrition and energy, yet you're programmed to gleefully enable it, and you become desperately protective of it. It's kind of biological brainwashing, and this often happens whether you want to be a parent or not. Justice Barrett is well aware of this kind of biological brainwashing that cures your. God, the left is so good. I'm sorry, man. If the right played as smart as the left, they would win every damn time. This is my big takeaway from reading this article. I saw this on Twitter. I was like, oh, the left is trying to make it seem like abortion is bad and traumatic. And then you read the article, which I'm sure not many people who shared this on Twitter actually did. And you find out, you're like, this article is actually making some really good points. It is. I'm sorry, guys. It is. And I'm not opposed to any of these things. And then it makes these fair points, and they are fair points. And then they go, oh, but Justice Barrett doesn't think that way. God damn it. I wish the right was as smart as the left. Justice Barrett is well aware of this kind of biological brainwashing that occurs during pregnancy. She gave birth to 5 children, and yet she blithely seems to assume a mother can simply choose not to bond with a child she's gestating solely on the basis of not ready to be a mother or believes she is unable to provide for the child. She assumes the mother will be supported financially and otherwise throughout the pregnancy, even in a country where maternal mortality states are abysmal. And she assumes children surrendered for adoption will find a home and not a bed in a foster care system. She probably assumes these things because she cannot fathom being in this position herself. These are assumptions that stemmed from the privilege of being financially secure. They're so smart in how they say something that's really not wrong, and then they use it to mischaracterize an entire position. That's not what she's saying. She literally did say that. She literally did say that. She said that she was grateful. She said she thought it was the best option. That's not the point. The point that she's making is that this isn't as simple as the right makes it out to be, which is the truth. I'm sorry. It is the truth. In my experience, some on the right believe that the trauma adoption inflicts as a consequence of irresponsibility, but unexpected pregnancy is not a de facto function of bad decision making. It can be a failed contraception, the product of rape, the mistaken belief that a woman is infertile. There is no justifiable reason to inflict harm on women and the babies they might produce in any of these situations, regardless of judgment. The trauma doesn't just affect mothers either. Researchers have a term for what children who are adopted, even as infants, may suffer from later in life: relinquishment trauma. They're so smart. The premise is that babies bond with their mother in utero and become familiar with their behaviors. When the first caretaker is not the biological mother, they register the difference, and the stress has lasting effects. I probably got off easy in that respect, in part because I did spend a few months with my biological mother before I was adopted. But that had the unintended effect of traumatizing my older siblings, who remember me as a baby who was there and then suddenly was gone. This was driven home to me by my older sister Bobby, whose first encounter with me over Facebook was, "All I can say is I remember you." She wrote, "I have loved you and missed you my entire life." What Justice Barrett and others are suggesting women do in lieu of abortion is not a small thing. It is a life changing, irrevocable, and not to be taken lightly. It often causes trauma, even when things work out, and it's a disservice to adoptees and their families, biological and adoptive, to pretend otherwise in the service of a neat political narrative. Dude, she's right. She's right. Sorry. I agree with most of this article. I did not expect this. I expected, because you guys know I do reactions on these articles. I don't read them beforehand because I want it to be a genuine reaction. I did not expect to agree with this article so much. What she is saying is not that she would have been preferred to be aborted, but the reality of adoption has its own nuance that goes along with it. That's what she's saying. And any attempt to frame this as by the right and say she wishes she was aborted instead. It's not going to work. This is a completely reasonable article. And I really wish the right would take lessons from stuff like this and learn about how to position things that you don't like in relation to completely rational arguments. This is a completely rational article. Sorry, not sorry. I'm not so sure this is going to be a rational article. Those cute cats online, they spread misinformation. The New York Times is trying to cancel cats. They are. They're trying to cancel cats. Now, I'm a dog person, so I don't necessarily believe that it's a bad thing for cats to get canceled. I think cats are little sons of bitches, to be honest. Listen, I see you guys complaining in the chat, and yes, I will call you the right because you are. Sorry. But the thing of it is, if you don't learn from people who do smart things, you're not going to win. I don't know why I care more about winning than you guys do, but whatever. Anyway, I don't really mind if cats get canceled. Let's read how cats are spreading misinformation in the New York Times. On October 2nd, new Tang Dynasty Television, a station linked to the Chinese spiritual movement Falun Gong, posted a Facebook video of a woman saving a baby shark stranded on a shore. Falun Gong, by the way, China likes to arrest Falun Gong practitioners and harvest their organs while they're still alive. Then what are you? Because you troll my chat all the time, you align yourself with white identitarians. Don't think I don't notice. If you're not on the right, what are you? What are you? I'm waiting. You're still not answering what you are. Uh-huh. Okay. Not all libertarians are good. Don't think that just because you're a libertarian, then that means I think you're good, dude. All right. Next to the video was a link to subscribe to the Epoch Times, a newspaper that is tied to Falun Gong and spreads anti-China and right-wing conspiracies. Oh, is it any wonder that China? Listen, is this the New York Times coming out against Falun Gong? Is this the New York Times? Is this the New York Times spreading disinformation about Falun Gong? Because China really does not like Falun Gong practitioners. I'm not kidding when I say they arrest them just for practicing Falun Gong and harvest their organs while they're still alive. Wow. That was the twist I didn't see coming. So this article is the New York Times being a shill for China. Who would have saw it coming? Who would have saw it coming? The website of Dr. Joseph Mercola, an osteopathic physician who researchers say is a chief spreader of coronavirus misinformation, regularly reposts posts about cute animals that generate tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of interactions on Facebook. Those stories include kitten and chick nap so sweetly together, and why orange cats may be different than other cats. Look at this post. And Western Journal, a right wing publication that has published unproven claims about the benefits of using hydroxychloroquine to treat COVID-19, check with the CDC for all your vaccine related information, and spread falsehoods about the fraud of the 2020 presidential election, owns Liftable Animals. A popular Facebook page, Liftable Animals, posts stories from Western Journal's main website, along with stories about golden retrievers and giraffes. Holy shit. Videos and gifs of cute animals, usually cats, have gone viral online for almost as long as the internet has been around. Many of these animals have become famous. Now it's becoming increasingly clear how widely the old school internet trick is being used by people and organizations peddling false information online. The posts with the animals do not directly spread false information, but they can draw a huge audience that can be redirected to a publication or site spreading false information about election fraud, unproven coronavirus cures, and other baseless conspiracy theories entirely unrelated to the videos. New York Times just started a gigantic conspiracy theory. This is amazing. This article is amazing. This article is insane. They're building their pages by posting pictures of cats and then using those pages to spread misinformation that we don't like. Holy shit, this is a giant conspiracy theory. Sometimes following a feed of cute animals on Facebook unknowingly signs users up as subscribers to misleading posts from the same publisher. Melissa Ryan, chief executive of Card Strategies, a consulting firm that researches disinformation, said this kind of engagement bait help misinformation actors generate clicks on their pages, which can make them more prominent in users' feeds in the future. The prominence can drive a broader audience to content with inaccurate or misleading information. The strategy works because the platforms continue to reward engagement over everything else, Mrs. Ryan said, even when that engagement comes from publications that publish false or misleading content. Perhaps no organization deploys this tactics as forcefully as Epic Media, parent company of the Epic Times. Epic Media. Do you notice they never actually said why Falun Gong was considered bad? Did you guys notice that? They started with this with like Falun Gong, this mysterious thing in China, and Epic Times. They never actually said why Falun Gong was bad. It's only bad because China hates it. It is only bad because China does not like Falun Gong. Epic Media has published videos of cute animals in 12,062 posts on its 103 Facebook pages in the past year, according to an analysis by the New York Times is analyzing the Epic Times Facebook pages for animal posts. Just think about that. According to an analysis by the New York Times is spending time analyzing the Facebook pages of Epic Times for Falun Gong, for cute animal posts. Wow. These posts, I wonder how much money the New York Times has spent analyzing the Facebook posts of Epic Times. These posts, which include links to other media websites, racked up nearly 4 billion views. Trending World, one of Epic's Facebook pages, was the 15th most popular page on the platform in the United States between July and September. One video posted last month by Epic Times Taiwan's page shows a close-up of a golden retriever while a woman tries in vain to pry an apple from its mouth. It has over 20,000 likes, shares, and comments on Facebook. Another post on Trending World's Facebook page features a seal grimacing or grinning widely with a family posing For a picture at SeaWorld, the video has 12 million views. Epic Media did not. This is so ridiculous. They're like, you're getting views by posting animal pictures. And then they're like all in the fair. They're like, the Epic Media did not respond to a request for comment on their animal posts. Dr. Becker is a veterinarian. Her articles are about pets. Sent an email from Dr. Mercola's public relations team. We reject any New York Times accusations of misleading any visitors, but are not surprised by it. The viral animal videos often comes from places like Junkin Media or Viral Hog. The companies identify extremely shareable videos and reach licensing deals with people who made them. After securing rights to the videos, Junkin Media and Viral Hog licensed the clips to other media companies, giving a cut of the profits to the original creators. Wow. Pictures of cute animal and videos of wholesome moments are the bread and butter of social media and definitely won't run afoul of any algorithmic content moderation. People are still using it every day. They're so salty. They're like, we have to find some way to discredit the Epic Times. I know. Cat videos. Wow. It's like that abortion article. I expected it, or not abortion, adoption article. I expected that to suck a lot worse than it did. I did not expect anywhere near the lunacy of this cat article. My God. All right, guys, you're watching Effed Up News. This is a stream that I do on Sundays to talk about different news items from the week. Whether you are watching on YouTube or Odyssey or Rockfin or even Facebook, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel that you're watching on. Please make sure you're mounting that like button. And I will be doing a little post-stream live stream in my locals community, just in case people have questions about the absurd cancellation that happened on Twitter today for me daring to talk about my spiritual beliefs and the conservative right not being able to handle that. I will be going live in my locals community right after this stream. If you want to head over to kb.locals.com and get signed up right now, the address is in the ticker. But right now, let's look at a couple more articles. This next one, I wanted to talk about the drama in the knitting world. I wanted to, like, how many knitters do we have in the group? How many knitters are watching? There was some drama in the knitting world. There was another cancellation. What happened this time? Well, Christy Glass, who is a knitting influencer, got canceled because she made remarks about Michelle Obama and apparently something else too. I haven't quite pieced together everything that's happened yet, but we're going to watch a video of someone complaining about Christy Glass that hopefully will illuminate things. But here's a little overview that I found on Instagram. What's happening with Christy Glass? Christy Glass is a podcaster, knitfluencer, YouTuber known for doing interviews with people in the yarn industry. Christy Glass has a history of problematic behavior surrounding racism in the community. Christy Glass recently criticized the latest Vogue knitting cover featuring Michelle Obama in her stories. The Vogue critique was not the most important thing to happen, but it was the tipping point. People have come out, especially BIPOC, and even more, especially Black women, detailing their experiences with Christy Glass. Christy Glass has responded in typical, fragile, white woman fashion, issuing a non-apology, setting her followers loose to harass Adela and more. We'll talk about who Adela is in a second. Remember, impact matters more than intent. Believe Black women and stand in the gap. No one's canceling Christy Glass. If anything, she canceled herself. This is not a mistake. This is a pattern of behavior. And most importantly, reevaluate for whom you reserve your grace. I just love that last line. I love that last bullet point. Reevaluate for whom you reserve your grace. There is no redemption when the woke left mob, cancel mob comes for you. There's also no redemption when the woke right mob comes to cancel you, by the way. It's no different. They're the same. But I just love, it's like, be careful for whom you reserve your grace. I would extend grace to, I can't think of many people that I wouldn't extend grace to. I really can't. I cannot think of many people that I would not extend grace to. Grace is not something we ever run out of. Grace is not a finite thing. Everyone deserves redemption. Everyone deserves forgiveness. And when we forgive other people and show grace to other people, we are saying that we are worthy of grace ourselves. Naruto said, did you see 80 Republicans voted with the Democrats in the House to pass a vaccine registration database? I am shocked, Naruto, that when you vote for horrible candidates, they will do horrible things. So let's see what Christy Glass did. Christy Glass has been in drama after being dragged in the media for being problematic in the knitting community. Christy Glass, known for her knitting tutorials on the internet, has been trending for her out-of-order behavior. Her actions towards her fellow community member, Adela, are being questioned by the community's people. We'll talk again, we'll show who Adela is in a second. Despite showing evidence that she posted an apology post and an apology post for her behavior, she is being dragged by people online. Adela has come forward with receipts and her side of the story. Christy Glass has shown an array of disrespectful comments against a fellow knitting creator. Creator Adela Colvin has made a lengthy video coming forward with what went down and what she felt at that moment. Now, I want to watch this video. I haven't seen this video yet. It's a little long, but I want to watch it. I want to see what's happening. I want to give you guys a taste of what woke knitting drama is really like. Okay? Do you guys mind if I watch this video? Do you want to come on this ride with me and watch woke knitting drama? I think you do. I think you do. So Adela, this actually makes me really sad because, oh God, why are there... I have to load it in Chrome to get it to play. So Adela is a yarn dyer that actually, it's a shame really, because I think her yarns are actually beautiful. I've used her yarns before. I think they're really, really nice, but she's a woke bitch. I am sorry. I give two shits if I'm canceled in the knitting community. She is a woke bitch. Every single time I have been around this woman, she has said some woke bitchy things. So I have no doubt what we're going to see in this video. I think this video is going to be crazy. But let's give it a watch. It's about 20 minutes. I'm going to skip around a little bit. Fast forward a little bit just because I think that there's some fluff at the beginning. But let's give it a listen. If the sound doesn't work, of course, as always, you guys can let me know and I can do my best to adjust the sound so that it does work. I'm getting a little spinny wheel of death at the moment on my computer. Hopefully that'll go away right quick. What? It's saying I can't load my sound preferences. What the hell is going on, computer? Maybe we're not watching the video. Oh, no, it loaded. Never mind. Never mind. Okay. Let's go. She doesn't talk for the first minute or so. She's just waiting. She's waiting on Instagram. Look, you know, she's getting ready. She's getting ready for a rant. She's getting ready.
Text conversation or DMs on Instagram.
In an attempt to do...
I don't know. I guess that's supposed to make me out to be some sort of liar, I guess. But I'm going to say this, and I'm not going to address this again. It's not even about staying strong. See, here's the thing. when people are drowning.
Hang on. I don't know who retracted it. I didn't retract it, so I don't know what happened there. I apologize. My last super chat got retracted. All I said was basically thank you for your work. I appreciate it, and so do the people I share it with. I appreciate that. I don't know what happened there, and I apologize. Don't know what happened.
Or when people feel like they're drowning, they get desperate. And this is just a desperate attempt to make me look bad, to keep her fan base. This isn't the first time this has happened to me and this community. Probably won't be the last time.
Oh, please. Oh,
because
please.
I will continue.
This woman is lit. And again, her yarns are beautiful. If she wasn't such a bitch, I would buy her yarns and knit with her yarns all the time. I legitimately think they're gorgeous. I really like some of them. But to say that this woman is not lifted up in the knitting community, I'm sorry. This woman entirely because she's a black yarn dyer is lifted up. And I say that as someone who thinks she actually puts together a really good product. If she actually focused on the product she was putting out and not the woke nonsense, then she would be just as successful, if not probably more successful. But she is lifted up entirely because she creates woke drama. Entirely because of it. Please do not let her fool you.
To speak my truth and to speak the truth. All she did was I tried to be really nice. I really tried to be nice.
No, she didn't. No.
When I posted that video the other day. So when I first saw Christy Glass at VKL
Vogue Knitting Live
2018, was it?
Yeah, I think so.
It's like a big knitting event.
She was a shell. She was an absolute shell of who she normally portrays herself to be. She looked tired. And I'm not saying this in a making fun of her way, right? She looked tired. She looked haggard. She looked terrified. She didn't look healthy. She looked horrible. Because this was right after the whole let's stick to knitting fiasco, where the internet proceeded to drag her. So
Okay.
I'm pretty sure what we were seeing.
Okay, so what she's talking about is a couple of years ago when all of the knitting drama started with them running around canceling people. So Christy Glass came out and said, can we just stick to knitting instead of going around canceling people and forming little cancel mobs? And she got canceled because of it. That's what she's talking about when she says that just stick to knitting fiasco.
Were frayed nerves, right? Maybe some fear, right? I'm not going into like, you know, what she looks like and why she looks like that. I'm not doing. And even after reading her post about, you know, let's stick to knitting and all of those things, when I met her, I showed kindness and I showed grace. Even after she didn't give a fuck about who I was, why I was there, until she showed, or she heard rather, me telling my story to somebody else and realized she could benefit off of hearing my story. I still showed grace. I had a conversation with her that day. and the internet thing came up, and she was talking about how it's a lot and people are calling her things and it's just really been hard. And what I said to her was, one, understand you are never going to be able to please everybody, right? When you fuck up and you have to fix something, no matter how you fix it, you're never going to please everybody, ever. You're never going to please everybody. So you just do the right thing, and eventually people will see you trying to do better or you doing better, and everybody can move on. And I meant that. Like, I legitimately meant that in my soul, because I've never been one to cancel people. I've never been one to drag people across the internet. I don't feel like I dragged her across the internet in the video I posted the other day, right? Black people are so forgiving. We had that interaction and we talked about, oh, she says, next time you're back in New York, right? I'd love to have you on the show. Well, maybe this is a good faith effort. Maybe this is, I'm going to go on this. I'm going to be a Black person, not a token, but a Black person. And maybe we could have a conversation. Maybe we could have a discussion. Maybe we could, I don't know. But I did say, okay, I'm going to do your show. And the closer we got to this show, like I said the other day, I told my husband, I don't feel right. Told Gigi, I don't feel right. I don't think I'm going to do this. Something is telling me not to do this.
Okay, so what's going on right now? What's going on right now is she's saying, I didn't want to go on a podcast. It was traumatic for me. And that's why we should... This is what knitting drama is like. Do you guys understand? Do you guys notice how this doesn't make any sense? I know this is not news for like the normal population, but this is news for me. Like, do you guys see how she's not making any sense and not explaining anything? This is what every knitting drama video is like. Where it's just like, I felt this and 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 I felt this, and it presents no facts. Nothing like that.
Ask Christy to, well, she wouldn't have a record of it, but the phone conversation that we had, where she said verbatim what I said outside of the text conversation. Ask her if she remembers that. She'll probably deny that, but that's fine. Anyway, my intuition, I didn't want to do it, and I genuinely wanted to explain to her why. I genuinely wanted to explain to her why. I wanted to have a conversation. Again, Black people are too fucking nice and too forgiving. I don't know why I thought, I don't know, maybe that's my bad, my error, thinking that I could have a conversation and reach something that everybody else couldn't reach, whatever. I didn't do the interview. I wanted to explain why. And here's the funny part, right? Well, she's such a fucking idiot. No, it's okay. We're not really friends or anything. Even if we weren't fucking friends, we're not friends. But if you want to interview somebody because you want to hear their story, and part of their story is being Black, and then something makes them feel very uncomfortable, whether they're a fucking friend or not. If you legitimately cared, you should want to hear them out. You should want to hear them out. right? But she didn't.
What were your concerns,
And
Adela?
anybody will tell you, I'm not nasty to people. I'm not. You can look at that thread. I was never nasty to her, even though I had all of this hesitation when I easily could have came out and said, you know what, I really don't think I want to do your fucking show because you're coming off as kind of like racist and clueless. And I could have said all of those things because that's what my intuition was feeling, but I didn't. I was still kind. I was still nice. I was never mean or nasty to her, ever.
She canceled herself
But
from
I
a
didn't do that.
podcast, and now she's complaining. She canceled herself from the
And
podcast.
I watched her after that. I watched and I struggled, and I've had these conversations with Gigi and my husband and other people in this community where, you know, she would pop up on my grid and I'd see her interviewing somebody, you know, a Black person or a person of color. And my gut, should I say something? No, I'm not going to say nothing because I don't want people to think I'm trying to start trouble. I don't want people to think I'm a bully. Well, what if whoever this person is that's about to be on her show, what if this is a great opportunity for them? What if they go on this show and they reach a certain number of people and they're able to build and grow from that? Maybe I should just shut the hell up, right? Maybe I shouldn't say anything. And I kept doing that over and over and over again. I kept, don't be sorry for me. Please don't be sorry for me, honey, because I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to go to work and I'm going to continue to do what I do. I sleep at night with zero issues. Like my conscience is, don't feel sorry for me. But I watched this and I struggled and I would tell Gigi, should I say something, Jimmy? Should I say something? What do I do? Like, oh, it makes me so mad because I know that she really does not give a shit about these people and their stories and who they truly are. She is collecting Black people. She is collecting and she is pretending. I knew she didn't give a fuck. I mean, I knew that when George Floyd was murdered and the internet was on fire, right? People were livid. People were upset. People were...
That was the frolicking.
The frolicking in the fucking Listen, people... Black people were literally sick. And I remember opening Instagram and seeing her running through the forest with another dyer and another designer.
Okay, so what she's mad about here is George Floyd dies. She's having feelings about it. And Christy Glass went on with life and kept doing her show. And you're like, how dare you continue to do your show when we're dying?
Promoting yarn and a pattern.
Yes, moved on with life.
Laughing and giggling and all smiles, and it made me irate.
You know, one of the things that I'm actually really worried about in terms of like cancel culture is I'm legitimate, and I know this stream's going long, it's longer than usual, but I have things to say. Like I'm legitimately worried that it is actually turning everyone into perpetual victims. This woman is literally saying something bad happened in the news, and so therefore we should not all go on with life. That's what she's saying. It's like something bad happened in the news. Stop everything else. We should not continue with life in any such way. It makes no sense. Life has to go on. I am sorry if you're upset. I'm sorry if you don't like something in the news. But what I fear is that people are actually starting to like adopt this. I mean, listen, this is happening to me right now. I'm being canceled on Twitter right now because someone took something I said out of context and made it be something it wasn't. Like, people are getting off on this sort of stuff. And they're seeing it as a virtue to be victims. I don't think there's any virtue in painting yourself as a victim. I don't think there's any virtue in painting yourself as a victim. You're certainly not a victim if someone else does a podcast that you don't like when you're sad about something that's happened in the news. It just makes no sense.
How is this woman not reading the room? How are all three of them not reading the room? But I'm not going to get into the other two because this ain't about them. This is about her. I still didn't say anything. I said nothing. Whatever, Adela, she's just trash. Don't even get yourself worked up over it. Then we get to Vogue 2019.
I was at
where
that one.
I was vending. And there is a designer that I do not mess with. I do not fuck with this designer. Me and her are not on the same page.
Who?
But she had purchased yarn from me. This wasn't yarn that I had given her. This was purchased yarn, and she designed a shawl. And right before Vogue 2019, which was going to be my first ever Vogue, Christy posts herself on her page and in her little blog or whatever, wearing this shawl, and made it seem like it was a collaboration between me and her friend, this designer that I don't fuck with.
Okay, so here's what happened. A designer bought some of her yarn, which might think would be a good thing. A designer knit a shawl with her yarn that ended up on a very popular knitting podcast. The knitting podcast gave the yarn dyer credit for the yarn, and now the yarn dyer is upset that they were giving credit for the yarn. And you know what would have happened had the yarn dyer not been given credit? If that designer had just said, I'm just going to take credit for this because I purchased the yarn, I wasn't given the yarn, it wasn't a collaboration, and not given her credit, she would have been upset about that too. So it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. She's literally saying that she was upset that she got credit for yarn that ended up in a shawl on a very popular knitting show. That's what she's saying.
That I don't like, that I had to cuss out badly.
Yes, you are forced to cuss them out for buying your product.
So I sent her a message. I'm like, hey, I see your post there with the Lola Bean yarn, and, you're making it seem like it was a collaboration. This was not a collaboration. This doesn't feel good. That yarn, I didn't send that yarn to that designer. She bought it from my booth and decided to make this thing. But y'all, the way you have it posted just makes it seem like it's a collaboration, and it's not.
And you'd be upset if you didn't get credit.
That yarn's not even going to be at Vogue. That shit made me feel so disgusting.
So she's literally disgusted that someone bought her product, made something beautiful, and then she got credit for being a part of it. These people have nothing better to do than to make themselves be victims. Oh, dude. Like, this is the ultimate this is like the ultimate act of self-sabotage. It really is. It's the ultimate act of self-sabotage. Any yarn dyer would be thrilled if a designer purchased their yarn, didn't have to be given it for free, purchased their yarn, made something beautiful, got it in a major knitting podcast, gave them full credit for it. Anyone would be thrilled by this, or everyone should be thrilled by this. But no, she's still unhappy. It makes me so mad because actually, again, I really do like her yarn. I think she makes beautiful yarn, but I can't buy it because of bullshit like this.
Lola Bean is a buzzword. Lola Bean, everybody was looking forward to going to Vogue.
So the knitting community is so racist that your yarn is a buzzword in the knitting community. The knitting community is so racist and white supremacist that your yarn is a buzzword in the knitting community. Okay.
To see Lola Bean, because this was her first event and everybody loves Lola Bean. So let me put on a shawl made with Lola Bean yarn.
And by the way, I was at Vogue Knitting Live in 2019, and no, not everyone was there to see her. That's just false. That is not true. It might be true in her mind, but it's not true in reality.
But I can tag Lola Bean in it and make it seem like, you know, we are not cool. And please don't think that by doing that, you were doing me a favor, because you weren't.
Ungrateful.
Just because you had just discovered me doesn't mean I was new. Bitch, I've been doing this for years. I have been working very hard for a long time to get to where I am. Please don't think you're doing me any favors. So you had the running around in the forest and being a complete
you
dingbat.
did a podcast
and
after
not
I
reading
didn't
the
like
room.
something.
You had the shawl thing. You had the, well, you know, we're not really friends and did. No, don't dismiss me, whether you said it nicely or not. Don't fucking dismiss me, because that's basically what she did. If you look at that DM, I'm saying, hey, I would like to have a conversation with you. And she's basically saying, oh, no, here's a bunch of nice things. But no, we don't need to have that conversation, because she knew where that motherfucking conversation was going to go. And she was too scared to have it. So you had that. Or the time that at Vogue, when she was going around doing her little camera thing and made me feel uncomfortable as fuck. Didn't ask, hey, can I bring this camera into your booth and record you while you're working so that I have content for my fucking blog or vlog or whatever it is? You have the decency to ask.
She is so worked up about this. This is ridiculous.
Have the decency to ask.
This is ridiculous.
Before you use me. Again, you're not doing me any favors. The people who fuck with me and buy from me and support me ain't the same people who buy and support from you. You're not doing me any favors. I still didn't say anything.
Dramatic pause.
Gigi, who has the heart of a saint, sees the good in everybody. When the internet was dragging Christy.
Got another minute, guys. It's almost done.
Try to help her recover from that and do better. And you go into...
Oh.
And
all right. It's messing up real weird on my end. I don't know if you guys are seeing that, but it's definitely messing up real weird on my end. So I'm going to stop it there. Listen, so what you just saw is that all this knitting drama with Christy Glass is because the woman who owns Lola Bean Yarns is upset that Christy Glass did a podcast after George Floyd died, is upset that she got credit for her yarn being used in something, is upset that Christy Glass said Michelle Obama shouldn't be on the cover of Vogue Knitting Live, and she's basically hyperventilating and having a fucking panic attack over it. This is the level of discord that exists in the knitting community. This is why I'm going insane. I just want to knit. That's all. And the thing that really strikes me is just the absolute lack of gratitude. The absolute lack of gratitude. And I think that that's a common theme among most people who are woke, whether or not they be on the left or on the right, is an absolute lack of gratitude and an absolute entitlement. If you would focus on all the things that are going well and all the things that are going good and the things that you like, not the things that you don't like, you're going to have a whole hell of a lot more happy of a life. There are way too many people right now that are addicted to anger. There are way too many people right now that are addicted to outrage. I talked about it in my last stream, but like I've been going through some shit lately, and I've been doing a lot of like focusing on myself as a result of it. I'm being selfish, but yeah, I'm a very selfish person. I am. Someone's going to clip that. Don't really care. But I've been focusing on myself and doing a lot of development work, and I got to tell you guys, like, there's nothing like shifting your mindset so that you're able to see things in different ways. And being able to ask yourself, is that thing that I'm upset about, is that the truth? Or is it a lie? If more people, and I'm going to be doing more content in my locals around this, by the way. In 2022, I'm already planning right now. I'm going to be doing a lot more content around this sort of stuff in locals because I think a lot of people on both the left and the right are frankly driving themselves insane. And there's no reason for it. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't help anyone else. You have to take care of yourself first. You have to make sure your needs are met. You have to feel good about yourself. You have to love yourself unconditionally. If you do those things, you're never going to end up looking like that crazy woman. It's never, ever, ever going to happen. All right, guys, I've got just one more thing I want to talk about this week. We're going to leave on a happy note, and then I'm going to sign off, and I'm going to go do a stream in my locals community to answer any questions that people might have about the lies that are being spread about me on Twitter. People are saying you're glorifying the Holocaust. No, I'm not. No, sorry, wrong. But I do want to celebrate that New Hampshire has been named the #1 freest of all states. We're #1. #1 free state in the country. We beat Florida. We beat Texas. Texas, where Carrie Smith from Unsafe Space lives, is #21. It goes to figure that Carrie Smith would live in #21 free state. God wants to enforce her will on everyone else. Texas is perfect for her. Texas is #21. Florida's #2. We are #1 by a mile. By a mile. And even the Cato Institute said that with the policies that New Hampshire has been implementing in the last year, it's going to be hard for anyone to catch us. We're going to be in #1 place for a while. So if you're thinking about moving, don't move to Texas. Why would you want to move to #21 in terms of freest states? Florida's at least #2. Florida's doing okay, but they're not doing as good as New Hampshire. New Hampshire is the best. I'm never leaving. I love it here. All right, guys, that's all I have for this week. Once again, if you want to come join me in locals for a little after party stream, you can do so at kb.locals.com. You can also become a supporter on my locals, and I would like to get 100 new supporters in my locals community by the end of the month. That would be really awesome. So if you want to do that, you can head over to kb.locals.com/support. You can do it at $5 a month. That unlocks all the features in locals and gets you lots of awesome perks. You can do it for $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can give a one-time gift if you want to. But if you join for free, and you can join for free at kb.locals.com, I'll be going live there in a couple minutes for a little after party stream exclusive for my locals community. So I will be seeing some of you guys really, really soon. I hope to see many of you. And as always, come back next Sunday, and I'll be live at 5 o'clock on Sunday for Effed Up News of the Week, and we'll do it all again. All right, guys, that's all I have for this week.